Well, hello there and welcome. Today we are going to chat about Valentine's Day because that's coming up next weekend. So, anyhow, I wanted to just kind of jump in here and chat a bit more about how to handle that as well as our mindset around it. I was thinking this morning more about it too because we got like a bag of little candy hearts to do a math activity. My kids are still entirely virtual right now, and so we got sent home some activities for the week, and one of them came with a bag of conversation hearts to do a math activity and stuff. And so I thought, oh yeah, here we are. And I know we're picking up another little thing from school later this week, and then on top of that, I just ordered cookies from my sister, who is amazing. She's a brilliant baker. They're like artwork, so cool. So I'm really excited to get those for my kids. So, buying the sweets, we're getting the sweets. And so I know in my house it's picking up. I actually went to Target a couple of weeks ago now, probably like 2 weeks ago or something, and I was getting other things and I saw the Valentine stuff, and so I always get my kids like a little Valentine basket type of thing, and then I saw the Valentine's candy, so I bought some, and so we've been having the like red, white, and pink M&Ms, and then these little fudge, like Dove fudge chocolate squares, and then we have conversation hearts, like I said, and then just this last weekend for Super Bowl, we just had a family little get together and someone brought heart cookies and my mom made a chocolate cake. And so we've had like lots of sweets, and I know they're going to continue coming. And so, we keep like sugar and sweets in the house regularly. It's not like a huge thing to not. We always have something. But whenever there's a holiday, we definitely end up with more things. And so I think when that starts to happen, it can feel overwhelming sometimes for parents. Like, how do we navigate this? And kids want it even more. My daughter has regularly been asking for the M&Ms, I think especially because she is obsessed with pink, which I don't know where that comes from because I'm not, but she's obsessed with pink. And so the fact that they're like pink and red and white, I think she really is excited about eating them more. So she's been asking for M&Ms a lot. And like I said, just more Valentine's candy and sweets in the house. And so kids want it more. Us as parents sometimes feel overwhelmed by it, or how do I serve it, or why are they obsessed with it? So I really want to talk about the like practical aspect of how to, provide it, and then also our mindset around it, because that's the even bigger challenge, right? Is how we're thinking about it, our feelings that are coming up. So first of all, this applies to any holiday or party or anything, these recommendations, okay? So let's talk specific because this week is Valentine's, but in general, this is applicable for any of those, especially like Halloween, or if they get some sort of Christmas or Hanukkah gifts or stockings or chocolate or whatever it is, it all applies. So first thing is, when they tend to get a basket or a gift or something like that, I would recommend that you let them have however much they want of it right in that moment, because they're excited about it. It's going to feel fun. They just want it, right? Like that's something they just got, and you taking it in that moment is going to feel restricted to them. So I would let them kind of sort through it, figure out what they want to have, and let them eat the amount that they want. And I see this a lot with my kids in particular, well, especially one or two of them more so than even the others, but that they want to just like try everything. And so I remember with Easter, it was like, oh, can I try one of those little peep things? Can I try a chocolate egg? Can I try this? And so what I've started doing is, if it's something big like that, where they're getting multiple things to go through at once, like say they bring home a Valentine's basket or, bag or something that has different candies and suckers and whatever in it, I started putting out a little trash container right where they're doing that. So it's like a visual reminder that they don't have to finish it if they don't want, and they have somewhere to put it. Because that's what I found, is that my kids really like to like just try things and see what do they want, because it seems fun and new. And I kind of liken that to like as an adult, if we go out and well, not during a pandemic, but prior to, there might be a platter of like different desserts or something, or maybe everybody at the table decides we want to try 4 different desserts, or we want to try all the different cheesecakes or whatever it is. And you get a bunch of different ones and you just want 1 or 2 bites to try all the different ones, right? So your kids might want to do that too. It might feel really exciting for them. So I think putting out some sort of container that they can throw their trash in or anything that they don't want is helpful. Also giving a gentle reminder that they can have this again, they can save whatever they don't want. You could even get out like little baggies for them to put stuff that they want to save in it, or a Tupperware with names on it, or whatever. This was not specific to candy, but even like, I think it was last weekend or whatever, we had donuts. And my boys both wanted huge cinnamon rolls. And so I just reminded them when I went to put them out, like, hey, just remember, you can always save this for later if you don't want it all right now. And then I put out like, plastic wrap, and then just wrapped them in a little bit of plastic wrap and put them away when they didn't want them. And they all saved them, which doesn't typically happen, especially with one of my kids. He's usually the one that like will eat everything and then be like, and can I have yours? She's not eating hers. Can I have it? But they all saved them. And again, that's not going to happen every time, but sometimes those gentle reminders can be helpful. But I want to caution you about being controlling about that, in the sense that they feel like I'm not allowed to eat it all. You're telling me I can't. No, just like, hey, by the way, if you want to save that, I'll put out a baggie for you, or I'll put out a Tupperware for you. So you can also do a gentle reminder that they're going to get to eat more later. You do not have to eat it all right now, okay? But think about the way that that's going to come across to them when you say it. So a trash container can be helpful, and some sort of reminder that they can save their food can be helpful, as long as it's not done in a, you're not allowed to eat too much, or don't eat too much, or how's your, right, like this micromanaging, how's your belly feeling, right? So be mindful of those things, but that can be helpful. So first you want to allow them to eat what they want so that it doesn't feel restricted, and then give them those visual reminders. And then when they're done, you're just going to put it away, and you're going to put it away wherever you keep other food. So that might be, in a certain cupboard, or on a shelf, or in the pantry, wherever you keep other food or a certain type of food. But we don't want to like hide it and lock it, right? But if you keep food in a certain cupboard, then that makes sense. Right? Or if you keep candy in a certain cupboard, that makes sense. But we don't want it to feel like this is off limits, you're not allowed to have it anymore. Okay, so put it away wherever the rest of food is. And then you're going to offer it regularly with meals and snacks. And that might look like, let's all pick a candy if you want to have one with dinner tonight. Or that might be for snack that you just put out their candy bags, and then you put out additional food as well. So when you're offering sweets, I would try, if possible, to serve it with additional food, especially some protein and or fat, because if they truly are really hungry for a snack, it might seem like, oh my gosh, they're eating so much candy, they're obsessed with it, all they want is sugar. But if that's their only thing that's available to them, that's all that they're going to eat, because that's what's available, right? So remember, our job as parents is to decide what food is available. So we can make their candy available, but then we can also make additional food available so that they can truly eat the amount that they need. Okay, so if possible, think about putting out some other snacks like you normally would, and then letting them have some of their Valentine's candy with it. So you're going to do that at meals and snacks so that they know they are still having access to this candy. So it doesn't feel so crazy and special and off limits, but that they're allowed to have it regularly. Okay, so that's really the practical aspect. Let them have the amount that they want, put out some sort of trash and a reminder that they can save it for later, put the candy away where you keep other food, and then continue to serve it at meals and snacks. Okay, so you're having some boundaries around it. Of course, if you feel like, no, my kids just eat it when they want, it's not a big deal, and you feel like that works in your home, I'm not telling you don't do that. That's not allowed, to just allow them to have it when they want it. Of course, that's fine if that works for you. My concern is more about you being overly restrictive with it. Okay, so then you want to continue to put it out regularly at meals and snacks. Now, the bigger picture in all of this, though, is really our mindset around that. right? And how do we feel about that? And I wanted to talk about this because I had posted, I'm trying to remember which post it was. I think it was the one from yesterday, maybe even, about like, it's not my job to control what my child eats. And on Instagram, I got a comment about, but like, it freaks me out when they eat so much sugar. That, like, yeah, that's a big part of it, right? Is that we get this reaction to it. We get freaked out. We get worried about it. We have all these thoughts about it. So I want you to think about, like, what are the thoughts that I have? What are the feelings that come up for me when I think about having the Valentine's candy or sugar in general, offering dessert? What comes up? Okay, so this idea of like, it freaks me out if she eats too much sugar. What are your fears, right? Like, I want you to get more clear on what freaks you out, because this just feels like a general fear to me. It freaks me out. But when we can get more specific, then we can really start to address, like, what is my actual concern? And is that truly a concern? But I think so often we have so much fear around sugar because of everything we're told about it, right? We're just constantly being told how bad it is, how it causes all these, diseases, how it's addictive, how we're out of control with it. There's programs, right? Like get rid of sugar, sugar addiction, all this stuff. So we have this like overarching fear, but like, what is that really? Is it my kids going to be addicted to it? Is it they're going to be unhealthy? Is it they're going to get diabetes? Is it they're going to gain weight? I want you to get really clear on what your fear is. And then we can really address more directly, is that a fear? Like, is that a fear that you truly believe, or is it not? Maybe it's just this overwhelming boogie monster type of thing, right? So I want you to think about that. What are your thoughts that come up that make you concerned about either having sugar in your home or when they get Valentine's candy or whatever it is when you serve it? Think about, what are your actual fears? So let's think about that for just a minute. I gave you that example of like, I get freaked out, right? So that feels really general to me. So I want you to break that down a little bit more. So one thing might be, right, they're going to be unhealthy if they eat too much sugar. So then we get to think about that more. Like, they're going to be unhealthy. Unhealthy in what way, right? What's going to happen if they're unhealthy? Like, right? How are they going to be unhealthy if they eat too much sugar? So I want to know, like, what is it specifically about health that's going to happen? Do you really think like a candy bar is going to cause poor health? Or is it that if they eat 2 buckets, like, what is it, right? Get as specific as you can about that health piece. And the one thing that I really like to go back to on this a lot is in Anti-Diet by Christy Harrison. She broke down the amount of sugar that the people in the lowest risk group for poor health outcomes had each day. And I think this is really helpful to look at because we have this fear. It's like too much. Like, what's too much? And then how are they going to be unhealthy, right? But like in that book, she gave really concrete examples when she talked about the sugar piece. And the people in this specific study, I don't remember what it was now, but in a specific study that had the lowest risk of poor health outcomes, still ate added sugar, not just sugar like from fruit, but added sugar in some form at every single meal, and the amount of like a full-size candy bar every single day. Okay, and they had the lowest risk for health outcomes. They were still consuming that much sugar and had the lowest risk. So that might be like yogurt with added sugar, trail mix that had some candy in it, I don't know, granola bar, right? Things like that that have added sugar. So some form of added sugar at every single meal and the amount of a full-size candy bar. And that might not be that at every meal they ate that added sugar, but that was the amount for an entire day would have been that they had had that amount plus like a full-size candy bar every single day. So how much sugar are we really concerned about, right? And when I've looked at a lot of the research, I am not saying that sugar is like we shouldn't worry about it ever at all, that, you know, if we only ate sugar, it would be great. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And we also create a lot more fear than is warranted for it. Okay. So when I've looked at a lot of research, the research that's shown poor health outcomes related to sugar, it's because they're doing research, one, on lab animals often, right? And two, on the amount of having something like 10 sodas in a day, right? That amount of sugar. And if you're consistently having that much, like 10 sodas a day, that's likely because your relationship with sugar is skewed, right? That you're not actually in tune and listening to your body. So then the question comes back to, how do we create then that moderation, right? Where it's not this 10 cans of soda or 10 full-size candy bars, but that it's a little bit of sugar throughout the day, some days a bit more, some days a bit less, right? And maybe, yeah, a full dessert or something, right? How do we create that kind of balance? Well, that comes from us not being scared about it and allowing our children to regulate that. Because when our reactions come into play, then our kids react to us. So we often get scared, like they're going to be unhealthy, right? So that's this, again, big overarching fear. They're going to be unhealthy. We bring extra energy to it because we're scared. They're going to be out of control around it. They're going to be so unhealthy. They're going to be hyper, whatever our fears are. And then they feel that and they feel like, I'm not supposed to be eating this, it's going to be taken away. Or maybe we step in and we do try to control, or we give that side eye look, like, how much are they really going to eat? Really, you're having another piece of that? Like, I've had clients tell me that their parents either say something like that, or they can just tell and they feel the judgment, right? So we bring all that into it, and then our kids feel like, oh God, this is going away. I'm not allowed to eat this. I'm bad for having it. I shouldn't be. And then they end up eating more when it is available, or they sneak and try to get to it, okay? So they end up reacting to us. So it's like we have these fears that we react to, then they pick up on us in our energy, and then they react to that. And then they do end up out of balance with food. So that's why our mindset is the critical piece in all of this. And that's why I want you to get more clear on what are your actual fears around it, so that you can really take a better look at that and also help to calm some of those fears. And at the end of the day, for you to know that the best way to help them actually be healthy is to have a healthy relationship with sugar, right? Where they know that it's not going anywhere and that they're allowed to have it, okay? So that's why our mindset is this critical piece in all of this. So think about, what are those fears? What are the fears that you have, right? Is it that they'll be hyper? Okay, well, what if they'll be hyper? I think there's a couple ways we could look at that. One is, okay, they're a little bit hyper, and that might be really annoying. Right? And there's a lot of things that our kids do that are annoying or hard, like when they have a tantrum. That can be hard as parents, but we let them do it, right? Because we know that it's best for them that we set boundaries in a loving way and that we allow them to have their feelings and express them. So maybe helping them have a healthy relationship with sugar is that they're going to be a little hyper sometimes. With that said, we actually don't have any research that supports that sugar creates hyperactivity. So one is just saying, okay, what if that's the worst case scenario? They're hyper. How do I wrap my head around that and be okay with that? But two, what if that's not even true? What if they're hyper because of the birthday party that has all the sugar, and they're with their friends and they're amped up because they're jumping on the bounce house or the trampoline and they're running around and playing games, right? Maybe they're hyper because they're just excited. Or maybe they're hyper because they don't get sweets very often. So when they do, it feels like, oh my gosh, all the sweets, all the treats, blah, right? And then they're more hyper because of that. I remember this example so clearly, but when my middle one was in preschool, we had done this like little birthday party for one of the teachers there. And we went to this other classroom and there were tons of balloons and like, it was so fun, but they were up in this net. And then like she pulled the string and all the balloons went down and the kids were jumping and bouncing with the balloons as they like fell from the ceiling. And then they were taking them outside and they were running around. And then we left her classroom and went back to ours and they were still playing with the balloons. And I remember parents walking in and being like, what's going on in here, right? Like, they were literally bouncing off the walls, off the floor, off of everything. And somebody probably would have walked in that room and been like, oh my God, they're on a sugar high. And the truth is, they hadn't even had a bite of sugar. We hadn't even done the cake yet, right? But they were just so excited from all the energy of all of this. So sometimes, right, we have confirmation bias. We believe sugar is going to make them be hyper. We believe it's going to do whatever it's going to do, so we look for those scenarios to prove our point. But are there ever scenarios where your kids have sugar and they're not hyper? Like, I gave my kids dessert with dinner last night because we had leftover stuff from that Super Bowl party, and I put out a little plate that had different types of cookies and stuff on it, and they ate that. And then we got ready for bed, and they went to bed within the hour. Nothing happened, right? I don't want to discount what you see or say that it's absolutely not true. I just want to encourage you to potentially see it another way and see if that might be possible. Just put it out there that could it be possible? Or could you be only looking for the scenarios that confirm what you already believe to be true, what that fear is? Okay. You might be like, absolutely not. That's not true, Nicole. Nope. I know it causes hyperactivity. Okay. But what if you challenged yourself? What if you looked for those instances and just said, what if I could find the times that they're not hyper when they have sugar? I just want to put that out there. Okay. So something else to think about when it comes to the hyperactivity. So I think those are some of the big concerns, but I want to know what comes up for you. Okay. So tell me in the comments, what comes up for you? What are your fears about sugar? Is it about the health of it? Is it about their weight, right? Is it about they're going to be hyper? What is that thing? And then how do we address that and help you manage your mindset around it so that you don't bring extra energy into the situation that doesn't need to be there, right? Because we don't want to give sugar even more energy than it already carries, because truth be told, society has this view of it, and it's always called a treat. Or I'll hear family members or, people at parties or whatever say things about like, oh, they're all going to be, on a sugar high after this, or good luck getting them to bed after this, or whatever. They're going to hear it out there. So we don't want to bring even more energy to it as parents, right? Instead, we want to try to keep that as low as possible, knowing that sugar is still going to be a bit fun and exciting for them. That's the way it is. That's how we celebrate. That's what we do with it. It's normal, right? But we want to bring it down to that normal baseline as opposed to this extremely amplified food, right? We want to create that neutrality with it. So I hope that helps give you like a bit of, on a practical level, this is what I'm going to do, right? You're going to let them have what they want when they first get it. You're going to put out a reminder that they can either save it for later and or throw what they don't want in the trash. You're going to store it where you store other food. And then you're going to serve it regularly with meals and snacks, okay? And then the other piece is managing your mindset around it. And let me see, I have a comment here. Let's see, my struggle is after a sweet food, heavy day or week, they lose interest in anything else. I feel responsible as a parent to create balance, and the tantrums are so hard on me. Yes, okay. Hi, Nicole. So good to see you here. So after a sweet food, heavy day or week, they lose interest. So I think it's important to remember, though, that we're the ones in charge of food, right? Like, we do decide what goes out. So I think there's a couple of things that could be happening with that. One is there energy around it? So when you say like tantrums, could it be that maybe, and I don't know the case, I just want to put this out in case this is the case for anybody else, but could it be that maybe there is this sense of like, sometimes it does feel special and like, okay, we're doing sweets and it feels like, yep, we're getting more and more. And then it's like gone. and it's barely there. And so then there's more tantrums about it because it feels like it is really special when I get it and then it's taken away versus like, okay, we had some and now it's just like regular and consistent and we still get a piece here and there throughout the rest of the days. So just be mindful, does it feel at all or nothing around that, right? Then in terms of creating that balance, you're in charge of the food. So you might, let them have it right then. And they do have a more sweet food day because they're excited about it. They get to go through their Valentine's candy or Halloween candy or Christmas stocking or whatever it is. They have more, but then the next day you serve a piece with lunch and one piece with dinner, right? Like you can decide how you're going to do that. So you can create the balance by providing what you want them to have access to, and then they get to choose if they want to eat it or not. So Nicole, tell me a little bit more about that too. Like what's the hard part there? Because they might have tantrums about not getting what they want, just like, and I think we've talked about this before a little bit, right? Just like they might have tantrums about something else. And that's okay. And that's hard, right? But it's okay to still hold a boundary around something and let them have their tantrums. And that doesn't mean you're giving it a ton of energy unless you're restricting it or unless you're talking badly about it or saying like, you've had enough and that sort of thing. So you still can create the balance, but tell me more about that. Okay. Hi, Kimberly. My challenge is I say, okay, we can have cookies. And my daughter immediately always says, yay, can I have 5? I feel restrictive saying no. So I think a lot of times when this is happening, we want to get in a more proactive state with it. So I would really think about, when do I want to serve cookies or candy or whatever it is? And you just take that proactive role of deciding. So you make sure though that you are proactively deciding. So if you know that you have cookies in the house, you're going to decide at lunch, we're having cookies and I'm putting out a plate and they can have as many as they want. Or maybe I'm only putting out 1 cookie or 2 cookies, and you've just decided that. And so then when they say, can I have more? You can say, oh my gosh, I love cookies too. It's such a great idea. Right now, we have turkey sandwiches and apples. If you're still hungry, we'll have more cookies again at dinner or tomorrow or whatever it is. So let them know that cookies are not going anywhere and let them know when they're going to get to have them again. And if you don't know, say, let's put those on the menu for tomorrow, or let's find a time to put those on the menu. Okay, so we're not restricting them saying you never get to have them. We're just letting them know when they get to have them. But I would try taking a more proactive role, because a lot of times when they're asking, then we feel like, oh, what do I do? And we might have more energy around it anyways, like, I guess we can, right? Like we do these sorts of things because we're like, I don't know what to say and I don't want to feel restricted or whatever. But if we have a bit more of a schedule around it, then it can feel better because we just know like that's not what's available right now. And this is what we do have. If I always want to go back and say, if it works for you and you're just like, I don't care if they ask for cookies and I let them have them and I have no energy around that and it's not a big deal, then you can do that. Like if that feels okay to you and you don't see any issues with it and you're just like, I'm fine, we can have cookies and I let them have them when they want, then do that. But you don't have to. But if you don't want to do it that way, then you do want to put the blame, I always say, on the schedule, on what's available. It's not about like you've had too many or no, we can't have that. It really is just like, that's not what's available right now, but that's such a great idea. Let's have those tomorrow. Okay. I hope that helps a little bit, but tell me if you have more questions about that, both Nicole and Kimberly, because I'm happy to talk about it a bit more. But remember, you can still create balance, but your balance comes from what you're offering, not what they're eating. And if you feel like you have energy around this, I would encourage you to, I want to say like hold a little bit more firm with some things, because sometimes I think we get really uncomfortable with parents. Like some parents will say, I just gave the example, right? Like I just want to, have like just let them have whatever, and that's totally fine, and that's what we do in our house, and we don't have a lot of structure around it, and I let them have sweets whenever they want them and it's not a big deal. And if you truly feel totally at ease with that, you don't see feeding issues, you're fine with it, then go for it. But if you are someone who is uncomfortable with the amount of sweets, then you're going to want to have something that feels a little bit more controlled for you so that you aren't reacting and putting more energy into it, if that makes sense. So that's when I would say, like, okay, I just know that I'm serving one portion. This is when it's available. And that way I'm not here going like, oh my God, how many are they going to eat? How many more are they going to have? I'm staring at them. Really, you're going to have another piece? Like, if that feels like too much for you to manage right now, then you're just going to put out a piece, but you're going to do it quite consistently, where you're like 1 or 2 cookies, and you're just going to make sure that it's coming regularly so that it feels available to them, but that you're not freaking out over how much they're eating. And then you can get to a point where maybe you feel a little better about it. Okay, no, well, I keep deleting my text because you're so cute. I'm the one that has a hard time wanting regular food after a sweet, heavy day or meal. Yeah, so much of it is our own fears, right? About like what we think is going to happen, or where we have our own struggles about our own relationship with food. And a lot of that is our own mindset as well. You know, like we've already told ourselves that story. So Nicole, maybe you already tell yourself like, yeah, I have a really hard time when I eat too many sweets, right? So you're already telling yourself like, I eat too many and I have a hard time with it, right? So where's that confirmation bias we were talking about, right? So then you have sweets and you're like, well, I have a hard time eating these. And so then you've already set yourself up to have a hard time with it. And then to think tomorrow, later in the day, whatever, I'm just going to keep wanting sweets. And so we often prove that story to ourselves, right? So we prove that. So one is, if you're kind of thinking that about yourself, then that's what you're going to bring to your own situation. Then you confirm that for yourself, and then you fear that your child's going to do the same thing, right? So it can start with you and you working on your relationship with food and the things that you're telling yourself about that. Like, how do you treat yourself when you do have those sweets, right? Or you have more? Do you beat yourself up about it? You say, here I go again, right? Or do you approach with curiosity, like, oh, wow, I really ate a lot of cookies and I didn't feel great. I wonder what was going on for me, you know? And then we can approach it and actually get some real answers instead of just beating ourselves up. And that's the same way we want to do it with our kids. Like, like what if we just went in total curiosity? I noticed that they seemed like really into that cake. I wonder what might have been going on. And maybe nothing. Maybe they were just totally excited about it. And you're just like, I wonder, right? Or maybe you're like, oh, yeah, they like barely ate snack today. They were probably starving by the time we got to that cake. Or they were just hyped up because we were all running around and they were running around with cousins and they were doing this and they were doing that. And then, you know, what I heard was everybody was like, come in for cake. And it was like exciting, right? So maybe it's that. But when we can get curious about it instead of just automatically labeling it as like, my child's out of control with sweets. They have a hard time with sweets, right? We're already setting up our story and then we don't have any curiosity and then we don't actually get any answers that help us. Okay, so you are welcome. I'm happy that that helps for you to be able to look at that a little bit for yourself. And oftentimes us doing this work for ourselves really does help in the energy that we bring to food and what we think about our kids with it. So I'm glad that feels helpful. And I think this is all of our ongoing work, is to keep looking at our own mindset around it and to really show up curious. And Kimberly, yes, being proactive. I'm glad that that feels helpful. Definitely keep us posted. If you have any more questions, let me know. If you are watching this in the future, watching the replay, and you have questions, definitely drop them in here. I always come back and check and make sure that I can help answer and support as well. So, all right, well, thank you for chatting with me today. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for being open and thinking about things a little bit different. And I am so glad that I can be here to support you. And I'm thankful for this entire group and for all the support that you give to each other. So thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday. I will definitely be back to chat with you soon. Definitely, I'm pretty sure next Tuesday again, I have it on my schedule, if not sooner. Oh, and one last thing, in case you didn't see it, I did post that I am doing a giveaway on Instagram. And seriously, I think these hats are so cute. With someone, she's called Come On Mama on Instagram. If you go to my Instagram, Nicole Cruz RD, you'll see the giveaway. It's totally free. I just want to give her hats to 2 people for Valentine's Day. So if you enter, you just have to tag a friend and go like her page, like my page, tag a friend, and then we're going to pick one lucky person to give a hat of your choice to yourself and to a friend. And so if you haven't seen that yet, head to my Instagram, Nicole Cruz RD, and I hope you enter and put yourself in the drawing for a hat, which will be closing on Thursday. So, all right, just want to put that out there. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, a wonderful Valentine's Day, however you choose to do that. And I will talk to you soon. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.